Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Community Live, hosted by the City of Austin Economic Development Department and the Colony Park Lakeside Neighborhood Association. Before we get started, for any of our viewers who are Spanish speakers, we actually do have Spanish translation provided for this broadcast, and we are going to go ahead and bring on Larissa Davila from BCO Consultings to share how you connect for Spanish translation. Hi, Larissa.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Doing fine.
Great. Buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos acompañan que prefieren escuchar esta presentación en el idioma español. Mi nombre es Larissa Dávila y soy la intérprete inglés-español. Si ustedes desean escuchar la presentación en idioma español, por favor marquen al teléfono 512-831-7858 y pueden poner el ID de la conferencia que está en pantalla. Este es el número 427-372-960 y el signo de número o el signo hashtag. Nuevamente, si quieren escuchar esta llamada en español, pueden marcar ahora al 512-831-7858 y ponen el ID de la conferencia que está en pantalla, que es el 427-372-960, signo de número o hashtag. Y con eso pueden ver la presentación en vivo, la pueden poner en silencio y pueden escuchar mientras hacemos la traducción. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Larissa. So we're excited today. We're actually going to be invited today some guests from the community who will be joining us who have been taking part in this project for quite some time. Before we begin, we want to give our viewers just a quick reminder, also as well as some history about the Colony Park Sustainable Community Project. It started in 2012, and it was actually part of the Neighborhood Housing and Community Development Corp. And it had several different partners involved. And in 2014, City Council approved the Colony Park Master Plan. After that time, the Economic Development Department since then has been part of the project and has taken it on as part of its implementation. It is 208 acres of community-owned land. And at this time, given the city has been involved in this project, I'd like to invite my partner, David Gray, to please come on as our special guest. And David is actually the Public Information and Marketing Manager. Hi, David. How are you doing?
Hey, Dr. Cortez, how's it going?
It's going well.
happy Thursday evening to you, and hope you're having a good week so far.
Thank you. I hope you are too. We have technology going on today, huh?
Technology is supposed to make your life easier, and every once in a while it makes it a little bit more complicated. But we are very excited that you and the community put on this evening's virtual Meet the Community, and so hopefully technology is our friend, so that we can talk about the really great work that's happening with everybody out there in the community and in the city. So I'll just dive in really quickly if that's
share
I know
with us
that
a little
people
bit.
aren't really here to hear from me. This is really about meeting the community, and so we want to make sure that we're giving a lot of time for y'all to hear from our community members about this legacy project. And that's exactly what this project is. The Colony Park Sustainable Community is a legacy project for the community and the city. We recognize in the city of Austin that the community has advocated for this site and for community benefits in this region for many years, really for many generations even. And so we're so excited to have made some progress recently with the signing of an exclusive negotiating agreement with Catellus Development Corporation to enter into the next critical phase of work in partnership with the community. And so for those of you who don't know, this is the largest redevelopment project currently in the city of Austin. And it's the largest in our city since the Mueller development a few years ago. And this site is so important to the city because it aligns with many of our priorities in our city's strategic direction 2023. For example, we have a goal around economic opportunity and affordability, and this project brings more economic opportunities right to the heart of this community with job opportunities and retail opportunities. We have priorities around mobility, and through collaborations with Capital Metro on the regional mobility plan, we've been able to position Colony Park and really align it really well with Project Connect and the Green Line and the Purple Line priorities. The city has priorities around health and the environment. And in partnership with the community, we were able to negotiate with Central Health to develop a health and wellness center in the Colony Park sustainable community. And then most importantly, my favorite priority is government that works for all. And our government should work for all. And it hasn't always worked for all. And this community has advocated so passionately to ensure that we are working for them. And so we're going to continue to be transparent and accessible to the community in Colony Park. And we're going to continue to prioritize this project and working with all of those who call Colony Park and Lakeside Hill home. And so again, our team in the city is looking forward to working with community as well as with Catellus, our development partner, as we continue to move this project forward and make real progress on getting this project off the papers and the planning maps and all that stuff into construction and just making it a reality. So yeah, again, that's really all I have. Super excited to hear from our community partners, and yeah, this is awesome. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you. We're really excited too, David, and thank you. And I know you're new to the team, but you've just hit the ground running. We're so glad that you're here. And also all of our team members who are working behind the scenes to help support this group, all of our partners, the people and organizations that help us get the work done. We want to say a special thank you to all of you. So for the time we've been waiting, without further ado, we want to go ahead and welcome our community members who are joining us here today. And we are going to first introduce Miss Barbara Scott, who is the president of the Colony Park Lakeside Neighborhood Association. Hi, Miss Scott. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well, and I hope everybody is doing well in this time of COVID-19.
Thank you for being here and joining us. We know you have also a few guests with you here today.
I do. There are some very treasured members of the Colony Park core team here with us. We have Mr. Shannon Jones, who helps us with all of our health information and needs that we have. He's an expert on the health piece. And we have Miss Mitzi Wright, who is going to help us with the food access piece for today. But we all work on everything, but we have some people who have a passion for certain things. And so one of our treasured members is not here today. That's Mrs. Helen Miller. She had a death in the family. And she's normally our AISD expert. But we will try and fill in on that piece as best we can. But thank you for having each of us here. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you both for joining us, Mr. Jones and Ms. Wright. So before we get started with the projects and initiatives that we've been working on, I think it's important for us to know the history of your community and the history of Colony Park and Lakeside. So Ms. Scott, if you don't mind, if you can share with the audience and our viewers a little bit about your neighborhood and how everything got started.
Well, I find out more and more every day. I thought that the area that I lived in was phase one, but I found out recently that the area that's off of Johnny Morris is actually phase one. This area was annexed by the city in 1972. And at that particular time, it was it was a subsidized community. It was put in for veterans. All of us who were married to veterans or who were veterans got to move in for a big whopping $1. And so that's what most of us did. It was a beautiful area out here, and we had high hopes we were told there was going to be a park, there was going to be a school, and, a grocery store. And we moved out really excited, moved into the area. We were all really excited about being out here. For most of us, it was our first home. We were all young. Some of us had kids. Most of us, didn't. We were just getting started. And so it was really a really nice area. That has been here for since 1972, and we were promised a lot of things, and the city did not fulfill those promises. And so that's the reason we are here today, to make sure that some of those promises are fulfilled and to improve upon the promises that were made.
We're, Ms. Scott, really grateful for you giving us a history, because I think oftentimes we think this project starts and the neighborhood starts there. And so we would love for you to share how you got involved with the Colony Park Sustainable Project, some of the inceptions of how that all started, and what this has meant for you and your community.
We were told by the city of Austin that there was 208 acres of land that was going to be developed, and it was going to be developed for affordable housing. And for us, that meant that it was going to be more tax credit properties, which brings no economics into the area. It just brings more of the same of what we had. And so we had two former members of the core team that brought this information to the Colony Park Neighborhood Association meeting and told us we have got to be involved in this. And so that's how we started with the Sustainable Communities Plan. At that time, we had received a $3 million HUD grant, and it was strictly for planning. And so we started meeting with the housing department with the city of Austin, and we met with them every week for 3 years, on a Tuesday, every week for 3 years. And out of that came the master plan, the Colony Park Master Plan. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that a lot of people make the assumption when they hear Colony Park Master Plan that Colony Park doesn't exist. It does exist. It has existed for since 1972, and that also includes, Mr. Gray said, Lakeside Hills. We just dropped the hills off of it, and we called it Lakeside. And so when you say Lakeside, everybody knows exactly where you're talking about. So that's how we got involved. We wanted better for our community, and I think we made the decision consciously that we couldn't depend on anybody making sure that we had what we needed in this area, except we had to do it ourselves. And so that's the reason we're here.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Scott, I know through that process that you guys also had the opportunity to acknowledge some of the things that were missing. And through what you noticed in your community as far as resources and services that were needed, you designed what you guys call the community's 8 pillars. Yes. And I would love for you to share with our viewers what those 8 pillars are and how that guides what you do on a daily basis as far as setting your goals, setting your initiatives. We'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, when we developed these pillars, it actually was 6 pillars. But as we went through the process, we realized that some things were missing. And so I'm sure that as we move forward, we may add pillar 9 to it. We don't know. But the pillars are improve access to food resources, improve access to healthcare services, mobility, connectivity, and safety, improve access to open spaces and active parks, improve economic vitality of new and existing communities, improve access to quality education, equal access to affordable workforce housing, and improve quality of life by accessing available city, county resources. And we've been able to deliver on 1 or 2 of those. Number 4 was to improve access to open spaces. And we had our grand opening on March 7th for the Colony Park District Park. And so that is a community district park, and we will have a swimming pool on there as well. We are in the process now of interviewing for designers for the swimming pool. One of the other amenities that it's really not an amenity, it's a need, and that is healthcare. We have been working with Central Health and the city of Austin to provide healthcare to the area. And so we We are in that process. I think that process is moving forward as we speak. And so we are hoping to have that facility open even before we start on the 208 acres of land. We always work with AISD. We have working relationships with the principals at what we call the LBJ Vertical Team, which is Valma Overton Elementary, Barbara Jordan, and Gus Garcia. We haven't had the ability to work with the new principal at Gus Garcia, but we hope to do so. When we say the 8 pillars, this mainly covers the existing neighborhoods, because we don't want to have 208 acres of beautiful houses and parks and trails, and then you have the existing neighborhoods that it's sitting right in the middle of, and we be the have-nots. We don't want to create, it's a good show, but we don't want to be in the show. We don't want this to be the have and the have-nots.
Well, and I know that we have several of you that are working on various different initiatives with these 8 pillars. And so, Mr. Jones, I know that Ms. Scott mentioned early on that you kind of work on the health portion of it. And we'd love to hear kind of what are the projects and initiatives going on in this particular pillar.
Well, thanks very much for having me on opportunity to join you. I am part of that core team and very proud to work with Ms. Scott, Ms. Wright, Ms. Helen, and all of the others who are part of our efforts. First, start off by talking about Colony Park in Lakeside is a very beautiful and wonderful place to live here in Austin and Travis County. It has one of the fastest growing youth population and senior populations as well. However, it has some of the highest mortality and morbidity rates in the county. And towards that effort, Central Health is working with the community and other groups to establish the Northeast Health and Wellness Resource Center that will be comparable to, if not better than, other areas that Central Health currently has, one out in Southeast and one north. This Health and Wellness Resource Center will be providing services, primarily of primary care. But in addition to that, they will be providing health and human services. So you can get services related to immunization, well child, primary care, the variety of services for this community that has been for so long underserved. And health is a critical part to the development of any community. Public health and primary care are the critical parts of making sure that a community is safe and healthy. And so at this facility, it is the plan to have all of those types of services provided there. Secondly, and particularly now, I want to talk a little bit about how health is impacting that community. We know that worldwide we're facing the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic. And not unlike any other communities here or around this country or around the world, Colony Park, which is in zip code 78724, is facing some of those critical issues. Towards that effort, we're working with Central Health and community care to provide screening services at the Barbara Jordan Elementary School there on the corner of Loyola and Johnny Morris. Those services are available on Monday and Friday from 6:30 to 1:30. And we encourage citizens particularly to get involved and make sure that you get tested, particularly in this area and across parts of our community. We see what we call disparities in testing as well as disparities in health outcomes. Nationwide and in this community as well, we see some of the highest rates of death due to the issue of coronavirus. And so therefore, it's important that you come in and get tested. Once again, that's at Barbara Jordan, as identified on the screen, 6711 Johnny Morris. The hours from 6:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It is important because recently the data which is shared, I'd like to share with you some of the recent data that we got just from zip code 78724. Overall, the positivity rate for 78724 is 34.36%. What that says is that when you were looking for a target at 5% or less, we're multiple times higher than that. And so it is important that you get there and get tested to know your status. Because as we are familiar with, this disease has a serious issue with asymptomatic patients. So we don't know if people are walking around with it or not. And you will not know unless you're tested. So it's important that you get out and get tested. This 34.36% indicates there's a large number of people who either interact in this area, who screened in this area, who are positive, and they may or may not know, and it's absolutely necessary. And that's why having this service in this community is so important. Recently, we saw that a grand total of roughly 1,500 clients at this site. 446 of those were positive, 852 were negative, and we're still pending 205. And that's important because given the testing turnaround time in this city and across this state and across this nation, it's taking increasingly longer. So it's important that you participate in getting tested to make sure that you know your status, to take care of your family, your friends, and your community. In closing, I'd just like to say a few things about this pandemic that's important, particularly to our community of Colony Park. There are things you can do to prevent the spread, and we encourage you to do that. One is you need to get tested. I've said that not once, but several times, and I emphasize that because we do not know our status. Secondly, it's important that you wear a mask in public. It's now the requirement here in Texas and also here in Travis County and, of course, in the city of Austin. And so we encourage you to get a mask and make sure that you wear it out in public. Thirdly, you need to stay, when you're out in the public, you need to stay 6 feet apart. And the reason you do that is because to make sure that the virus does not spread from you to the other person. And then also it's important that you sanitize the environments in which you live. Your home, when you come in from shopping or when you're out and about, make sure you sanitize the areas or things that you bring into your house. That makes it very, very important to make sure that you have a healthy outcome. As this plan is developed over the next several years, this area will be critical to the development and the growth of Austin. We want to make sure all Austinite and all Travis County residents are adequately provided service. And this health component is a critical part of that. And so we encourage you to make sure that you get involved and work with us, that you participate in the services that we mentioned, and engage as we develop the health and wellness center that will be over in the northeast part of this community, and that you are part of helping us develop those. And with that, thanks so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We appreciate you emphasizing the health component to all of these issues that are going on in our community outside of the work that we're doing. The other big thing that has kind of been compounded on top of what's been happening is also the need for food access. And so I want to give Ms. Wright the opportunity to talk a little bit about what are the efforts you guys have been working on in the community, the partnerships that you've been doing to help families in the area.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here to speak on behalf of the neighborhood, Colony Park Neighborhood Association, along with Lakeside. We are, of course, living in a food desert, and we have been since the beginning. So we're working hard towards getting a full service grocery store that serves the community, so that we don't have to necessarily leave our neighborhoods every time that we need something from the grocery store. We have had some success with food distribution since COVID has started. We've been working with the Farm Share Stand, who has distributed food, I think with, I'm sorry, that point just left my mind, with Capital Metro. And we've also, along with Cortez Consulting, done some food delivery with Capital Metro. We have food giveaways that come over to Turner Roberts Rec Center on Fridays with Brighter Bites, which will also be there on Friday. This Friday, they'll be at Overton Elementary from 8:30 to 11 a.m. and at Pecan Springs Elementary from 9:30 a.m. until 12 p.m. We've had a successful food giveaway at Travis County Expo Center that was partnered with the Central Texas Food Bank. And there's another one upcoming or scheduled to be determined. So we're looking forward to that also. Well, in August. So yeah, we're looking forward to the one in August. AISD also serves feeds the kids Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that happens at LBJ High School. And also it's a curbside pickup. So all you have to do is drive by and they'll place the food either in your trunk or allow you to take the food and put it in your car. They also have a curbside at Dobie, which is going to be from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m., just in case somebody lives, outside of the 78724 area. So again, as we further push towards getting a full service grocery store in our area, we partnered with the University of Texas. Stephanie Lang, who is the Director of Equity and Community Advocacy. She is also with the Center for Community Engagement under DDCE at UT. Along with Dave Junker and Brad Love, who are with the Moody College Honors Program. We're working with them in order to produce a video that tells the story of Colony Park and our need for a full service grocery store. It's just access that we need to full services in our neighborhood. So as we look forward to making these things also happen in our neighborhood, I want to encourage people to get involved, to engage in our community neighborhood association in order to strengthen our voices so that we can speak stronger and get the things that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright, and thank you for all the work that you guys are doing, especially for food access at this time that families are trying to budget. They're dealing with how do they get access to fresh food as well. So I must say that the distributions that we're trying to do are fresh foods and to make sure that they provide the families with food for some time. So thank you for sharing with that. I also want us to talk a little bit about the type of housing that you have been advocating for this time, Ms. Scott. I know that this is particularly something that you've worked on defining for the community. And so if you could share a little bit more about what you've been doing for workforce housing, what this means and how this has impacted the project.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We refer to housing that's needed in this area as workforce housing, which means if I'm a first-year teacher, I should be able to afford a house in Austin, Texas, especially if I teach in Austin, Texas. We like to say affordable housing, but what's affordable for me may not be affordable for everybody else and vice versa. So we like to say workforce housing, which means that people that live and work in the area should be able to afford at least a starter house in the area where they're working. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this area, but somewhere. And we started talking about workforce housing when we were with the housing department. And all of a sudden that term has just exploded, within the Austin area. And so we are hoping to be able to provide on the 208 acres, housing that, your firemen, your policemen, your first year teachers, will be able to afford, and even people that make less than that. And so we know that in our community, there's always a stigma. We never referred to it as affordable housing. We always said low income. And so that term caught on and it still hangs on now, just like the word clinic. When you say a clinic in our community, that's not necessarily a good thing. And so that's the reason we're trying to change the dynamic and the wording of how words are important. And so when you say wellness center, it may be a large clinic, but when you say wellness center, it means something totally different to people in the African American community. And I'm sure in the Hispanic community as well. And so we want to say workforce housing. And that lets people know that these people here, you're not giving them anything, they're working. And so we're just making housing available for them to be able to work and live in the same area. This is what we plan for this area. And it's not just for the 208 acres. we want to make sure that this area stays affordable or for working class people. We're a working class community. Lakeside and Colony Park has always been known as a community that had working class people in it. And it's nothing wrong with being working class people. We're the ones that build the communities. And so we want to make sure that we have somewhere to live as well. And when we do this new project, we want it to be done mindfully in a way that everybody that's in the two existing communities can live comfortably as well. And also live knowing that they're not going to be pushed out. Mm-hmm. And so we are doing everything that we can to ensure that. And we need your help. We want you to come and join us. We are not having our neighborhood association meetings at this time. We'll start again in September, and they're going to be virtually. And so, we're living in the time of COVID. And so we've got to live with COVID, and we've got to meet COVID and make COVID do what we want COVID to do. And we want to be safe in doing that. And so we're going to have virtual meetings. And so, as I said, we meet every month with the City of Austin Economic Development Department now. We have interdepartmental meetings. There is generally somebody from Colony Park core team at any meeting that's being held at the City of Austin. And we decided we had to do that. And we want people to understand. I can hear the voices in my head. They're getting paid. No, we're not getting paid. We do not get paid a dime. I discovered when COVID hit that I had a part-time job because my car gas bill went down from $188 to $35. And so we're not getting paid. We do this because this is our community. And we want to make it better for the children that are coming along. We had to transport our kids out of the community to go swimming, and still have to transport them out to go to a library. And that's something that we're working with the City of Austin and Central Health to see if we can't provide a library in that clinic that's going to be built. It's a want, it's a need, and we're working toward that. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that happens. Because it's sad to say that you can't go to a library in your own community. And so the same thing with a grocery store. We're always told that we don't have enough rooftops. But I can guarantee you that at least 95% of the families out here eat every day. And so we buy groceries somewhere. We do our shopping somewhere. And what we're doing is making other parts of the Austin area viable and richer. And we still don't have a full service grocery store with a pharmacy. So we don't have to go across town. We have to cross 183 to do just about anything that we want to do.
And Ms. Scott, I'm glad you brought that up because it's so important to the conversation today. And I want to touch on one other of your pillars that you guys have also been working on, and it's about this existing and the new community and creating a connection. And that is the pillar on transportation. And would love for you to share a little bit about the work you've been doing. I know there's some progress being done, not only with connecting existing roads, but also the transportation routes and how do we improve that. So would love for you or a member of your team to share this with the transportation initiatives you're working on.
Well, I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Wright because she was actually on a committee with Capital Metro. We have been working with them on and off for years. As you may know, we had a viable transportation system in the community, and Capital Metro removed all of the routes that were coming into the neighborhood. And so now most of the routes are on Loyola. And so these streets out here are very long. We had one lady that worked at the Turner Roberts Recreation Center that did chemo and had to get off the bus on Loyola and walk up to the recreation center to go to work after chemo. And so what we did was work with Capital Metro, and we have a little mini bus that goes from Decker up to the recreation center, down Loyola, up to Springdale Shopping Center and back around. But that's really not enough for a neighborhood of this size. And so I'm going to let Ms. Wright talk to you a little bit about that.
Miss Wright, can you unmute?
I think she may be frozen.
Really into my spiel.
Are you there? Yeah, there she is.
No, I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yes. So yes, a few years ago, I did sit on a committee with Capital Metro discussing the routes that come in and out of our neighborhood and how to improve them. I don't have anything positive to report from that committee because they haven't improved any of the routes. We've asked several times just to get some covered bus stops where we don't have to wait in the sun or be exposed to the weather as people wait for the buses that circulate out here about once every hour versus in most of the neighborhoods every 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And the buses usually are running in one direction. So our hopes are to get Capital Metro to come back into the community because the Colony Park is deep and wide. And so hopefully we can get them to do that for the existing community and not just because we're about to have some major development. Again, I wish I had some positive things to say about Capital Metro, but we have reached out to them and we hope to do some more work with them in getting more transportation. The red line, the green line is on the way in the future, but that's still future. And people that are living here, of course, need transportation now. So I hate to just be a bearer of bad news, but we don't have anything positive to say.
Well, I know that there's connections being made and the work's being done. And, as we move along, we'll see how working together, we try to get to some positive impacts. And as it takes time, we appreciate all the advocacy that you guys continue to do and the passion. And as Ms. Scott says, this is all being done on a volunteer basis. So we're really grateful to the work that you're doing. As we get ready to wrap up, and there's a good friend of ours, Devon from the Turner Roberts Center. We appreciate also the folks out in the community who are doing work to support us. I want to have David Gray and Ms. Scott I'm going to put these two questions together as I'm being conscientious of time. Wondered if you could share what lessons have been learned or best practices that have come out of this project as we begin to close up our broadcast today.
Well, do you want me to go first, Mr. Ray? Okay.
Sure, Ms.
One
Scott.
thing
Absolutely.
that's paramount is truthfulness. When we sit with the city of Austin, we go in a manner of we're telling you what we need, what we want, and we expect truthfulness. And that's one of the things we had takeaways from when we were working with housing, and that was one of the main things was tell us whether you can do this or not. Don't keep us coming down here for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and you can't do it. Just let us know that you can't do it, and then we will look at how we can get it done in a different direction. Compromise. We know that we're not going to get everything that we ask for, but we're going to ask for it. My mother used to always say, nothing beats a failure but a try. And so we're going to try and get as much as we can. And even for myself, I have to stop looking at what we need out here because it's amenities for other parts of town, but they're needs for us. There's a need for healthcare when you have the highest mortality and morbidity rate in Travis County, in Austin. There's a need for economics in this area when you have nothing in this area that can put money back into the community. There's a need for quality education in this area. Our kids are just as smart as everybody else's kids. They need the same thing that the other schools in Austin get. We need the same thing at our LBJ vertical team here. Recreation. We need the same recreation programs that are at other recreation centers. We needed a park. We were out here for over 40 some years without a park. We had to take our kids across 183 to the other park that's right there on Loyola. To go to a library, we got to cross 183 and go to the library over there. And then a lot of times that library does not have what you need. So you got to go other places. These are all needs. Connectivity. We used to call the number 37 bus the bus that goes to nowhere, because you would get on it and ride for 3 hours and not get where you needed to go. Housing. We are trying to work with neighborhood housing. We work with the code department, and we work with the police department as well. And not to scare anyone away, but this area is a no yard parking area. So we are trying to fix this area where it feels like home. We want it to be home to everybody. We want it to be an area that anybody would want to come and live in. And to do that, we've got to take care of the two existing communities as well as build the new community. We don't want to build 208 acres of land and have a fence around it and it be a fenced-in gated community. That's not what we're working for. We want it to combine with the two existing neighborhoods. Colony Park, which is existing and has been existing since 1972, and Lakeside Hills, which is existing. And I'm not quite sure, I think it was in the 80s maybe that Lakeside Hills came about. We have a lot of rental in Lakeside, and we have a lot of slum landlords in Lakeside. Those are all things that need to be fixed. And with the help of the different city departments, we can get them fixed. People don't realize that there are programs that if you can't fix your house, if you qualify, you can get the city of Austin to do that. And let me share this with you. They don't want your house. They will not take your house from you. That's not how it works. But that, I don't think, has been conveyed as much as it should be or how it could be, so people can understand how these programs work. So we invite everybody to come and join us. Our meetings for neighborhood meeting will start the third Monday in September. And there are certain things that we do. Right now, we're having a backpack drive. And so we are providing 300 backpacks for Valma Overton, 300 for Barbara Jordan, 300 for Gus Garcia, and for the high school young men and women, we are providing face masks for them with the LBJ Jaguar logo on it. So we are busy doing things in this community, and we need everybody's help.
And, you know, Dr. Cortez, I don't know how to follow. I call her Dr. Scott, and Mrs. Scott always corrects me, but the wisdom that she brings and the passion that she leads with and the resiliency that she demonstrates and that the entire core team and community demonstrates, it's unparalleled and it's unmatched. You know, what I'll say is the staff at the Economic Development Department now, we recognize that there's this real risk that a dream delayed can become a dream denied. And for far too long, Colony Park and Lakeside have been promised things. And you heard Ms. Scott, I don't know anybody who wouldn't jump at the opportunity to buy a house for $1 and have access to grocery stores, swimming pools, parks for your kids, good transportation, right? And so when those things don't happen, yeah, you should be upset, and it's undeniable that the city and the county has underserved this community, and we've done so for far too long. There's been a lot of conversation recently about economic justice and racial justice and police reform, and in Austin, you can't have that conversation without having a real conversation about Colony Park and Lakeside and other communities in the eastern and the northeast part of our city and our county. And so that's why for us, this project is significantly important. The Colony Park Neighborhood Association, the residents in Lakeside, they've really set the standard for what community involvement looks like citywide and countywide. And honestly, for folks in the neighborhood who are watching, I would put your community association up against any community association anywhere in the nation. And I guarantee you that your community association is advocating and they're out here fighting for you day in and day out. And, you know, we get the emails from Ms. Scott that read like encyclopedia entries, right? But she's out here, and Ms. Wright is out here, and Mr. Jones is out here, and they're all out here really doing this work. And so from our perspective, you know, I can say that this is a priority for the city. We want to make sure that this stream is no longer delayed, that this community is no longer denied the promises that were given to you. These 8 pillars, to Ms. Scott's point, they really represent not just nice amenities, but things that this community really needs. And so it's our commitment to make sure that the Colony Park Sustainable Community is just that. It helps foster sustainable community, not just for the 208 acres, but for residents who have called this area home for generations, and really for that entire region of our city. We're going to continue to engage with community. We're going to continue to engage with the core team. I know that we're planning a community event, some type of community event or for virtual engagement in August. So, you know, please connect with the Neighborhood Association, visit our website, follow us on Facebook so that you get access to that announcement. And Dr. Cortez and her team does an amazing job spreading the word about events and things that are happening far and wide. And so there's multiple places for folks in the community to tap in. And so we just encourage you to be a part of this effort, be a part of this movement. This is not one of those fake, phony promises. Those days are gone. We are committed to getting this work done and getting it done the right way. You know, thank you, Dr. Scott, Dr. Wright, Dr. Jones, you know, for all the great work that you're doing and all the other members of the core team. It really is an honor to work with amazing, resilient, strong, wise, and passionate community members. So thank you all for the work that you've been doing and the work that you continue to do for the community.
Well, with that, thank you both for giving us some calls to action. Again, Ms. Scott, we can't echo enough for keeping us where we are today, for standing strong for all of us, for everybody who supports us. Ms. Wright, Mr. Jones, Ms. Helen, who can't be here today, thank you for your advocacy, for everything you continue to do on behalf of Colony Park and the community who needs it. So again, you guys, just a reminder, we'll be coming to you again next month in August, sometime in August. As David mentioned, we'll be actually having an official public meeting, a virtual public meeting, to bring you updates on what's going on in the community now as we've moved into a new phase of the project. Again, we just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and we'll see you soon in August. Have a good evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.